Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Unquestionably Raw NBA podcast. I am your host, Matt Miller. Today, we got Allana Tahauer with us again. We got Brady Kopfler, and we got my man, Charlie Jones, again. Lots of stuff has gone down. It's been a while since we've been on, so we're going to touch on some of the trades and free agent signings. We are definitely going to talk Summer League. Lots of good performances that we've seen from these young players. But the big unexpected trade happened a couple weeks ago. Paul George going to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis, they go to Indiana. Brady, did this one surprise you?
It did surprise me. I really thought that he was going to get traded to a team that was closer to contention, a team that thought that they had a really strong chance of winning and then convincing him to stay instead of bolting off to the Lakers like everyone thinks. I didn't think that a team that really has no chance at making it to the finals next year was going to get involved because it's such a big risk. You're probably going to lose him next year anyway, and you probably have to give up a lot to get him. Mm-hmm. But the Thunder really managed to put themselves in a win-win situation, in my opinion, because they are so messed up in terms of cap space with the contracts that they had given Oladipo, Cantor, and Steven Adams. They had no money left to give anyone who was an all-star player. So worst case scenario, if Paul George leaves, they were able to shed some cap space. As much as some people might like Oladipo, I'm not particularly high on him, but they needed to get rid of at least one of those contracts so that they actually had some cap space to build around Russell Westbrook, convince him to stay and not leave. So worst case scenario, they clear up cap space. Best case scenario, Paul George stays. They came out of nowhere, but it was really a brilliant move because I don't see how they can lose this trade, even if he goes.
And if you got to shed a little more money, you could eat. I think you could trade Enes Kanter. Someone will take him.
I think they can trade Kanter. They're putting themselves in a situation where they can actually move forward, regardless of what Paul George does, and that's really a great move by Sam Presti.
Charlie, what did you think of this one?
I mean, I agree because how can you come back from an MVP performance to make your fans happy? You add Paul George. There's nothing else you can do to make your fans happier but to add a perennial all-star who's one of the best players in the league by adding Paul George, even if he leaves. Well, nothing else is going to happen for that team this year. They weren't beating the Warriors. They weren't beating the Spurs. They probably weren't beating the Rockets. Now all of a sudden you add a player that's going to bring fans into the city, and you never know. You never know. You might mess around and win some games this year, and maybe Westbrook convinces him to stay.
Yeah, you could get an upset in the second round. Maybe you beat Houston, maybe. And you know their history. They've had some success against San Antonio in the playoffs with the speed. San Antonio hasn't been able to match the athleticism and the speed. So it could happen. It could happen. Allana.
I think it was a big move. I think it was a smart move by the Thunder. And the Pacers, it was a pretty smart move by them too. I know people say they could have got more, but they got them out of the East. I mean, they got two young players that some people are high on.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up about getting them out of the East because I actually think from they said there was an agreement on the table. There was Chris Broussard had mentioned that all the owners had agreed. It was Denver, or was it Denver, or not Denver, but there was some kind of trade agreed to. Kyrie Irving would have went to Phoenix, Paul George and Bledsoe would have went to. They would have went to Cleveland, and then Indiana would have just got picks and a bunch of young. They would have got Chris, the number 4 pick, and Bender, and the owners I believe agreed. But then Indiana, their GM, I guess, went silent. So I think, and you brought up a point. They did not want to give him what he wanted or keep him in the East. So I think that's, and then same thing with Boston. I think Boston was actually willing to give up picks, but the GM in India, he was not going to do it. Allana, what are your thoughts on that?
I really liked it just for the mere fact that it was unpredictable. I feel like, yes. Obviously free agency is chaos in itself, but there's so many times where the news that comes through is pretty predictable, whereas this, to me at least, came out of nowhere. And I think, the point about making the fans happy and just getting them excited about something. Going off of, Westbrook's great year, this is like the next best thing to that. So even if he doesn't stick around, it does just kind of amp things up for the city and its fan base. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how the chemistry is, though, even if it is just for a year, because it's one of those things that because it's so unpredictable and so random. You never really know how it's going to pan out.
Mm-hmm. I actually like the fit of Paul George, and then obviously they add Patrick Patterson as well, which was a nice pickup getting Pat in there. I think they could be really competitive this year and make a second round upset. I think Paul George. I think they
deserves it. He deserves some help. He deserves to get someone of that caliber, beside him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think, call me crazy, but I actually think Paul George is a guy who's actually better off the ball, not having to do as much playmaking. He's a tremendous outside shooter. So if Westbrook trusts him, is going to give the ball, I think it could work, and they could do some things in the West. No, they're not going to beat Golden State. I don't think anybody sees that happen. But injuries happen. So, Golden State is one injury away from, a Draymond Green or a Curry injury from being in trouble.
Into the universe. And,
that's the thing. They can win without Kevin Durant, but you get Curry. If Curry goes down or if Draymond Green goes down, that's it. They're not winning without one of those two guys in the lineup. But I want to go to the next big one, obviously, and I'm going to you first, Allana, because your team, the Miami Heat, were one of the three teams that could have had a chance at Gordon Hayward, but he does choose the Boston Celtics. He goes back, he gets to play with his college coach, Brad Stevens. Allana, what were your thoughts on this? I know you were a tad bit disappointed.
I was more disappointed just because of my hatred for the Celtics that he ended up there, regardless of the fact that I understand it and that I do really respect what Brad Stevens has done. But to me, it's always interesting when people pass up on an organization like Miami. Forget about the city. It's a great city, whatever. And forget even about the players, but just having Pat Riley, taking over your career, essentially. I guess that just wasn't enough. But at the same time, I don't know. I wasn't necessarily expecting it. I thought that because of how much people have been hyping, bringing Dion Waiters and James Johnson back, and they clearly wanted to come back. Pat Riley's been really happy with them. I kind of thought that that's what was going to happen anyway. So I don't know. I think Gordon Hayward's going to be a pretty good fit for the Celtics, obviously reuniting with his college coach. But yeah, it stung a little bit, but I'm okay. And I feel like from the most part, from the people I've spoken to, Miami Heat fans are just happy to have their guys back.
And guess what? You got the consolation prize. You got the man bun. You got Kelly Olynyk.
Oh, man. I honestly almost fell off my elliptical when I saw that. I literally almost just tipped right over. It was – I don't know what Pat Riley was thinking there. That was probably the first time that I've not agreed with one of his moves in a really long time. But I'm open to it. I'm gonna see what happens.
As Charlie, our guy Sean Morris says he's the dirtiest player in the NBA, but he is good. He is good. But back to Gordon Hayward, Charlie. Do you like this move for the Celtics? Do you think are they better? Because obviously we'll get to Avery Bradley and that in a second. But are they better? With losing Avery Bradley.
Yeah, I think they're better. They needed another scorer because we saw Isaiah Thomas. He struggled a little bit in the conference finals. I think I've been talking to a lot of people about Isaiah Thomas, and I just don't know if he can do it. I don't know if he's enough at the point guard position to compete with the Cavaliers, but they gave him some help. Gordon Hayward's a really good player. He's not the top 10 type of player, but he's a really good small forward in the NBA, and he's going to make them better. And Brad Stevens knows how to use them. He might be top 5 coaches in the NBA. So I think they're going to be good. I don't know about beating the Celtics yet. I know we're going to talk about Summer League, and I'm watching Tatum right now as we talk, and he's big time too. So the Celtics got better. I just don't know if it's enough to beat the Cavs.
See, I don't actually think their roster's that impressive. I understand on paper. No, listen, hear me out. I understand on paper. I get it. Okay, I get the hype on paper, but if you really sit down and think about it and just dissect the fact that if Rondo didn't get hurt last year, they might have not even beaten the Bulls.
I'm gonna say this, and I got into it with some Celtics fans who I'm surprised they did not defend the Celtics. I think the Bulls still lose that series. I think because if you look at the way
I'm not sure either way, just because the Bulls are such a hot mess, you never know. But the fact that it took Rondo's injury for the entire series to really turn around.
It definitely changed the momentum of the series. But when you look at the adjustments that they made, just how they were setting the screen and rolls with Isaiah. They were setting him way like right beyond, like one step past half court. Here comes the screen, giving him all that space to work. The Bulls didn't know what the hell to do.
Well,
Fred
yeah, but
Hoiberg, they didn't adjust, and I don't think Rondo changes
Fred Hoiberg's a terrible coach.
And
like this isn't a fair.
Exactly.
Very accurate.
That's why, but exactly. That's why I think they would have lost because of Hoiberg.
I don't know. I just feel like Danny Ainge has no idea what he's doing. I understand the Bradley trade, but at the same time, like I feel like you lost like a lot of defense, which you're already lacking. I don't know. I think that on paper they look way better than they're really going to be.
I know. Allana's going to like this. I think if Hayward picked Miami goes to the finals.
Oh yeah, 100%. I already think that we're going to be like second in the East. Okay,
yeah,
like I'm high up there.
Miami is really good. They're
everybody,
good.
And they're
all
one
our
of those
listeners,
teams that unless you watch, literally you have no idea. Like I've talked to people who probably watched 1 or 2 games last season and they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about, and it's hilarious. They're like, who's even on the team?
Right.
Here's the thing, though. Everybody, all our listeners, everybody who knows me, Allana, you know this. I am the biggest Hassan Whiteside hater, just because I got a personal story, about him, and he was a complete dick. And we've seen the foolishness of him throughout the years.
But he's matured.
He's matured. He's matured. He's better. He's better than he was. But he still has his moments. That's why I'm not that's probably why I'm not sold it, because I think Hassan, I don't know if you can trust him in a big game. I don't know how much you can trust him. He could prove me wrong. It could possibly happen.
But see, I think that's what I love about this Miami team, because honestly, this is probably my favorite Miami team like of all time. There's not one like stand out. I mean, obviously Hassan Whiteside, fine. Goran Dragic, like there's kind of the headliners, but it's such like a unit. Like it's literally the definition of a team. You know what I mean? Like everyone just like balances each other out, but if you don't watch, you don't know. And I understand that, but I just feel like it's just one of those teams where you don't really need one star to, propel you forward.
Kind of like that Detroit team in 04.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. You can't. I didn't want to say Detroit and compare them to that team, but
the makeup is similar.
Right.
That can be the superstar team, because they have a bunch of guys. I mean, James Johnson and Dion Waiters can go get some buckets now.
Dion Waiters is nice.
They get buckets. You need people on your team that can go get a bucket.
I've been riding with James Johnson since he was drafted by the Bulls. It just took the right system to like get him to be what he could have been.
But you know what? He had some really good moments with the Kings when he was in Sacramento. He had some good moments. He did some good things for them. The potential's been there. It got unlocked. But you know what? Can we give enough? Can we not? We got to give a lot of credit to Spo. What an outstanding coach he is. He is. I would argue he might be the second best coach in the NBA.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's top in my book. He's top 5 for sure.
Yeah, he's right. He's right there, right there under Popovich. But Brady, are the Celtics better?
Oh yeah. They're much better. They're much better, because Bradley's a big loss for sure, but Hayward provides a lot of things that really did that team in last year. They play amazing team basketball. Brad Stevens, terrific coach. But the problem when you play such good team basketball is then when you get to the playoffs and the game slows down and you invariably get stuck in more isolation situations, more heavy half-court sets, and it's not what you've been doing all year, and you don't always have the skills to succeed in the way that the game is naturally going to change in the playoffs. And as good of a scorer as Isaiah Thomas is, he can't really go and get you a bucket the way some other scorers can.
Gordon Hayward can get it. I'd take Gordon Hayward over Isaiah as far as getting a bucket.
Absolutely. Because Isaiah, he's very small, and if you were going against a defense that is actually game planning against you, which you do in the playoffs and don't in the regular season, they can shut down a lot of what he brings to the table. So now you have not only a second scorer to complement him, not only a second scorer so that you always have a scorer on the floor, not just when Isaiah's on the floor, but all 48 minutes. But now you have that guy that when the shot clock's running down, when you're in a half-court isolation set, you can give the ball to him, and he can go against anyone and at least get a decent shot off.
And he can create for his teammates.
Yeah, and he can create for his teammates, and it gives you a lot of flexibility. He can play multiple positions. He's can score like a 2, but he can defend like a 3, sometimes even like a 4. And now you're bringing in another year of Jaylen Brown. You're bringing in Jason Tatum. It gives them a lot of flexibility. They need.
But don't they still have to move some people around to pay him? Or
they traded Avery Bradley, so that was all they had to do. But
Bradley should do it, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is trying to move Crowder apparently, but
there was a question in the chat about did the Celtics give up too much to essentially be able to sign Gordon? I say no, because I kind of look at it this way, and I posed it to our guy Scott O'Gallagher on Twitter a couple days ago, and essentially, if you go at the end, the season's over. If you tell if I'm a team and you tell me I'm going to give you Gordon Hayward, Jason Tatum, and Marcus Morris for Avery Bradley and Kelly Olynyk, I am taking that trade all day long. I kind of look at it like that. Obviously, they drafted Tatum. That's not how it worked out, but I kind of looked at it that way. I think they're much better because you figure it this way. Terry Rozier is now another more year experienced. Jaylen Brown has looked really good in Summer League. His shot needs work. He's short on a lot of it. I think he can correct it because I don't think he shoots a bad ball. But this roster is really loaded. Now, I think if you're the Celtics, everybody's made the good points about what Hayward can do for them, but I think they still need a rim protector. So if I'm Boston, put a flyer out there on Festus Ezeli. He just got waived. If he's healthy, give him a minimum. Give a guy like Larry Sanders a contract if he's in shape and ready to go. I mean,
they do get Aaron Baines, which helps a little bit.
Exactly. Yes,
he's not a great rim protector, but he's at least a pretty big body.
That would require him to be better than they are.
And if you can do like when I bring up Festus and I bring up Larry Sanders, do what the Warriors did with JaVale McGee, and we see how that worked out. Give a flyer on a guy. You just never know. I think if Larry Sanders can get back to half of what he was and just be a rim protector, he would be tremendous for the Boston Celtics. But is he mentally ready to play? Is he in shape? That's the thing. I know you had the Go ahead.
Also, Matt, when people are talking about thinking maybe the Celtics gave up too much, people forget they had to choose at some point in the next year between Isaiah Thomas and Avery Bradley. At the end of next year, they were only going to have one of those two guys. And you can argue, I think there's actually a compelling case to be made that they should have kept Bradley instead of Isaiah, but that's neither here nor there. But the reality is they had to get rid of one of them. They didn't have the cap space to sign two people at essentially the same position to near max contracts. So it's not just trading Bradley for Hayward, it's signing Hayward for a guy that you were going to get rid of in a year.
And I'm not mad at them giving up Avery Bradley for this reason. And Allana and I texted back and forth the other day about this, about I love Marcus Smart.
I already know where you're going with that.
I love Marcus Smart. No, he's not the on-ball defender that Avery Bradley's arguably right there with Kawhi Leonard and Tony Allen is the best on-ball defender in the NBA. But Marcus Smart is an elite on-ball defender still. He's a top 10 all-ball. But what Avery Bradley can't guard fours. He doesn't really guard threes. Marcus Smart can guard literally 1 through 4. They stuck him on Paul Millsap's, and he did a good job against Paul Millsap. I really like what Marcus Smart. I think he's an overall better defender than Avery Bradley. When you look at what he can do, he's a better playmaker as far as getting shots. We saw when he filled in for IT. He did a fantastic job.
He did. And speaking of defense, one other thing that Gordon Hayward brings is he makes LeBron James have to work more on defense when they meet in the playoffs. We saw that. We saw against the Pacers when LeBron was guarding Paul George a lot, and we saw versus the Warriors when he was guarding Kevin Durant a lot. You're not going to slow down LeBron with anything, but we saw him gas in the end of those games against the Pacers and against the Warriors that in a way that he didn't against the Celtics and the Raptors when he wasn't having to play any defense. So, you're not going to stop LeBron, but now the Celtics have someone that he actually has to guard and work on.
And here's the thing. If LeBron, you can't look like if he has to guard Jason Tatum or Gordon Hayward or Jaylen Brown, he has to work against all three of those guys.
Yeah, all of them.
And even Marcus Smart, even if he's guarding Marcus Smart, you have to work against him.
Yeah, that's
what are your thoughts on that chart about because you being the point guard? What are your thoughts on Marcus Smart filling in now for Avery Bradley?
Well, he's got that same type of toughness that he's probably a little bit more tough than Avery Bradley is. He's got that dog in him that you need on your team.
Got that fake toughness, if that's what you're talking about.
I'm not
talking. That's what you're referring to.
I'm not talking about the toughness. I'm going to fight you. I'm talking about the toughness where if the ball's on the ground, he's going to run you over and go get it. He's not going to fight you, but he's going to run over. You need somebody like that when you got Isaiah Thomas in the backcourt. And I like what Brady said about LeBron having to cover Hayward, but I feel the same way about Marcus Morris. I know he's not the greatest player, but you got to cover him.
Yeah.
He goes and gets buckets. He can shoot the three. He's streaky, but he can shoot the three. I think if they go out, I know a lot of people aren't talking about him, but if they go out and get Dwayne Dedmon, I think that changes. I think that changes the
a rim protector. Yes,
he would be a big pickup for the Celtics. I don't want the Spurs to lose him. You know, I'm a Spurs guy, but if I'm the Celtics, I'm going after Dwayne Dedmon today.
Question real quick, just do the Celtics probably now regret not trading for Nerlens Noel? You think so? With his ability to protect the rim, rebound, you don't need to give him the ball on offense.
He was one of those wild cards where he was hurt. He was hurt in college, got hurt in the NBA.
And he's going to demand
and he's going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah,
they couldn't keep him and Horford.
That's true. That's a good point. I think you
can get Dwayne Dedmon for a better bargain than Noel.
All right. I want to touch on one more thing here. A couple signings by the Sacramento Kings, a team that everybody knows been very hard on for the last year. I've called them the worst franchise in professional sports. They nailed the Boogie Cousins trade. They nailed that trade perfectly. They win that trade, so they But now they go out. You get George Hill. You sign Vince Carter. You sign Zach Randolph. Brady. Great moves by the Kings, right?
Yeah, for the most part. As an NBA fan, I'm kind of annoyed by them. Not because I think Sacramento did anything wrong, but I just wanted to see guys like Zach Randolph and Vince Carter in winning situations, not in those kind of mentoring roles. I want to see those guys in the playoffs. I want to see those guys having a chance to get some hardware for the first time. But
they're not going to win a ring, but moves, Sacramento's going to compete for the 8th seed this year. They're not going to make it, but they're going to compete.
So those were great moves for them. You know, they had the space. It's not like they were going to sign anyone else. They're one-year deals, so they're not hurting you long-term.
And you can trade them.
And you can trade them. George Hill was one of the more interesting contracts of the offseason for me because I expected him to go to a team that really needed him.
Like Minnesota.
I expected Minnesota to go after him. I expected San Antonio to go after him. All these things. And instead he goes somewhere, not only a team that's rebuilding, but a team that has De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield. So they don't even need someone at that position. I mean, I'm assuming that they'll play Hield as a small forward a fair bit and go a little small lineup there with Hill at 2. But it's interesting to me that they just acquired a shooting guard in Hield, just drafted a point guard in Fox, and now they're going out and spending $19 million a year for another guard. So I like the fit. With that said, and I think it'll be interesting to see what Sacramento can do with him because if he stays healthy, you sit on him for a year and a half, have him mentor your players, help them out a little bit. You flip him at the trade deadline next season when some contender needs a good point guard for a year and a half. That could end up being a huge move for them, almost a baseball-style move where you sign a decent guy, trade him halfway through a season for some assets because they don't need the money right now. So if they can just
kind of like what the Cubs did, kind of like
better later.
Yeah, I'm glad you like what the Cubs did a couple years back when they trade Jason Hamill to the A's and Smarja, and they get Addison Russell. So
you see it every year. The A's do this every year, even though they suck. They sign a good veteran at the start of every year. Sign like 3 or 4 of them, and at the trade deadline, when they invariably are a horrible team, they flip them for some prospects. They just rinse, wash, and repeat. So you don't see that much in the NBA, but with the Kings. You know, they had this salary cap space that they didn't have the ability to spend on future pieces. So if you can spend it on someone who's going to mentor your players and that you can then flip for future pieces, could end up being a really great move.
I'm going to chew you, Charlie, because I know you're a big De'Aaron Fox fan. And with this signing, it looks to me like Fox will probably come off the bench at the beginning. Or could you see, Fox and Hill in the backcourt with Buddy playing the 3, like in kind of a small ball lineup? Or do you think Fox probably comes off the bench to start the season?
I'd rather see Fox start from day one. I mean,
I would too.
He's the point guard of the future. I kind of texted you last night my story on De'Aaron Fox. I saw him as a junior at a tournament. He dropped the easiest, smoothest 50-point game I've ever seen in my life. And from that day on, I've been the biggest De'Aaron Fox fan. He needs to be the starting point guard. Give him the keys to Sacramento. Let George Hill run off guard and bring Buddy Hield off the bench to give you some firepower off the bench because Fox has star potential. But just the way he plays, he gets everybody involved. He plays defense. He pushes the pace. He's a high character guy. He's the type of guy that can help change your franchise. from the inside and the outside.
And like Brady said, he's even with the 3-year contract, you can trade a guy like George Hill half at the trade deadline if it's not working out. Allana, what do you think of the Kings signing these 3 veterans? Do you like it for them?
I mean, I do, but the George Hill signing really threw me off. And kind of going off of what Brady said, I really thought that he was going to get more attention. Obviously, we don't really know what happened like behind the scenes or whatever, but it didn't really seem like a lot of teams were biting on him.
I do have something. I believe I believe it was George Hill. Everyone was talking about Minnesota. You know what? The reason that came out why he didn't want to go to Minnesota, he didn't want to play for Tibbs. He doesn't want to play for Thibodeau because he knows the practices, the grind out minutes, the 40 minutes. He didn't want to play for Tibbs. That's why he didn't go to Minnesota.
Interesting. I mean,
and that seemed like the best fit for him.
Yeah, that was a perfect fit.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I don't know. That kind of surprised me, but it kind of does seem like the Kings are trying at least to get their ish together. While
definitely.
While guys like the Bulls are just kind of plummeting downwards.
Hey, we're gonna get to them. That's a good segue to go to the NBA Summer League now. And I'm going to Charlie first on this because I got into a little little debate on Twitter, but a little debate with our guy Snotty Drippin. He made a comment about he doesn't understand, he doesn't get what we all see with Lonzo Ball. So I got Charlie Jones here. He was point guard at University of Houston. He now coaches George Ranch High School varsity. This is the guy that would know. Please, Charlie, let everybody know why Lonzo Ball is so special.
I mean, everything he does is contagious. He gives the ball up at the right time. We harp on James Harden all the time. He dribbles too much. He holds on to the ball, but then Lonzo Ball gives it up early, and people complain, oh, all he did was kick the ball up the court. That's all he did. He didn't do anything special. Well, he's making the right basketball play at the right time. He's putting the ball right on the money. I'm not a big LeBron James fan, but that's one of LeBron James's biggest strengths to me. It's when he passes it to people, he puts it right on the money that as soon as they get it, they're going up to score. You're watching the Summer League. The fans are going crazy at the Lakers games because of Lonzo Ball. It has nothing to do with anybody else but Lonzo Ball. He's going to bring some more money to the Lakers. He's going to bring some more excitement to the Lakers. And I think it was the right pick. I know people think Dennis Smith might be a little better and even De'Aaron Fox, but Lonzo is the Hollywood pick. He's the safe pick. If Lonzo Ball struggles, Magic will be okay. If he would have picked Fox and Fox struggled, Magic Johnson would have never been able to live that down. So I think the biggest problem is LeVar Ball. And
I think he's going to actually be fine.
No, and that's me and you talked about that. A lot of people hate him. I think he's a genius.
Yeah.
He's supporting his son. He's putting his kids on the biggest platform, the biggest stage you can put them on. And everything he's done has worked. And that's the reason people hate Lonzo Ball. It has nothing to do with his skill, his game. It's his crazy daddy, who is an absolute genius.
Allana, what are your thoughts on Lonzo Ball? I know you caught some of the first game. He didn't shoot that well. Looked fantastic last night, the triple-double. What are your thoughts on Lonzo so far?
No, I mean, I'm excited about him. I feel like, honestly, people put a little bit too much pressure on Summer League, period, especially, like, the first game or two. I mean, it's the first time they're playing in this league. It's a lot of it's a lot of speculation, a lot of high stakes. But, no, I mean, I think a contagious attitude is exactly, like, the perfect way to describe it because his energy is just something that is kind of rare in this day and age, I feel like, especially for someone, as young as he is.
He's only 19.
Right. And I think, the sky's the limit for him right now. I am excited to see what he does. I do think his dad's a problem. And I was of the thought that he was a genius and, his whole marketing plan was working out. But now at this point, whenever I want to turn him off. Like, I don't want to listen to him talk. He's
a hype man.
He's a hype man with
you know what he is? If you for all our WWE fans out there, he's Paul Heyman. That's what he is. He's Paul Heyman. I'm gonna say it.
I mean, I don't know. I just feel like he's at this point almost just taking away from his son's skill set. Whereas I don't think they're gonna allow him to continue. Obviously, like I saw the first game, whatever, they interviewed him at halftime. I don't think that's gonna, be some trajectory for the rest of the season where he's always going to get his, 15 minutes, 15 seconds, whatever.
And he got his interview yesterday too during the game.
Okay, yeah, I didn't catch that, but I feel like the media just needs to back off, because the more that they give him time, the more he's going to do with that time. And I think if they kind of just start ignoring him, he's going to fall to the wayside and start, trying to prepare his other two songs.
Before I'm going to use this, what a good comparison, what LeVar is doing. And obviously, it's not. He's using the media the same way Donald Trump did to win the election.
Absolutely.
In a sense, he's using the media the exact same way.
Yeah, and the more the media gives him, that space to go and say whatever he wants and to have these interviews, it's just going to get worse. So.
And bad publicity is better than no publicity.
Yep.
So, but Brady, what have you seen from Lonzo that impresses you so far?
Well, a lot of what Charlie was saying. The thing that I love most about him is he is always looking to advance the ball. And it doesn't matter whether the ball is in his hands or someone else's.
And you know what? That skill set translates to the big games when they count.
It absolutely does. I just love seeing the guy get a rebound or get an outlet, and his head's up, and he is looking for someone who is further down the court than he is and trying to get the ball to that person immediately. And you don't see that often with point guards. You saw it a lot with guys like Steve Nash. Curry does it a lot.
LeBron James.
LeBron James is a great trait. And then even in half-court sets, one of the things I really love about Lonzo is he tries to pass the ball to teammates to put them in better situations than the team is currently in, instead of just to try to get an assist. And it's so rare to see a point guard do that, because normally point guards, they're just holding the ball. They're trying to find that pass that leads to someone getting a basket. And we saw all the time yesterday, Lonzo would find a way to get the ball to a player, coming around a little high screen, making a little backdoor cut, anything. He would get it to them before they were at the basket. They wouldn't necessarily have a shot. Sometimes they would have a pass. Sometimes they would just be in a position to put on a move. But he wasn't waiting until someone was open for a shot. He was waiting until someone had a step on the defender, get the ball to them, knowing that now the defense is out of sorts and you have an advantage, and let your teammate make a play. And
he's literally the complete opposite of his father, if you think about it. Like, he plays like team ball, where all his dad does is just want to talk about himself 24/7.
And Lonzo's very quiet.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's very quiet. Now, the one other thing I want to say about him, not to rain on the parade or anything, there's been a lot of talk about him on Twitter, both ways. People saying that he's crap, people saying that he's the next best thing. If your opinion about him is very much different than your opinion was about him on draft day, then that's dumb.
Right.
Because he's played 2 games against a bunch of players who are not going to be in the league next year, with no coaching or no systems. I mean, summer leagues basically pick up basketball.
Yep.
So you can see things that can validate opinions that you have of a player for good or for bad, but there are way too many people out here making grand conclusions about him and about other players.
Yeah, just from summer league.
Yeah, which you can't. I mean, if you already felt that way about him before, then sure, you can keep making your opinion, but don't be changing your opinion based on 2 summer league games.
It's funny. I'm glad you mentioned this. If you would have asked me 6 weeks ago, or 6 weeks before the draft, I was kind of I wasn't sure about Lonzo. A couple of weeks before the draft, I became sold on him. Just watching the footage, seeing what he did for UCLA. I mean, I brought this up to Snotty. I was like, they went from 15 wins to 31 with him. Well, but they had 2 other guys drafted, TJ Leaf and then another guy. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, you saw Ivica Zubac making extra passes, right? That you didn't see during the regular season with the Lakers. You know what Snotty's response was? A European big man making an extra pass. Wow. You didn't see it during the regular season. Look at how much better Brandon Ingram was because of Lonzo Ball. Like, those things are going to translate. I didn't pull it off. I did semi-pull the I played and you didn't card on him, and I had to, because he tried to go at me because I said that Lonzo Ball is rubbing off on the other teammates. He was telling me, well, when I mentioned the comment, well, I've played a lot of basketball and I've, and I coach now. I've seen a lot of it. Like, you can tell he's rubbing off. Well, that's just confirmation bias. Get the hell. Are you serious? If you know anything of the game, you can see it's clearly rubbing off on his teammates, except Vanderblue. He doesn't pass
No,
except Vanderblue.
That's why he didn't get to play as much. I mean,
I was glad. You noticed he didn't play much the second game, and you saw Alonso played a lot better. Yes, good move by the Lakers. And Vanderblue can play.
It's good to see it in a league that's been so driven by stats by people lately. It's good to see a player who doesn't care about stats and just cares about making the right play.
No, and I think he settled down in the second game. You could see it. And I think, and maybe not having Brandon Ingram out there helped Lonzo a little bit, because now Lonzo has to do a little more with Brandon not being out of there. Who, real quick, before we touch on some other guys, how good did Brandon Ingram look in the first game?
So good.
Yes, Brady, go ahead.
It's everything that people wanted him to be, I think, coming out of college. I think he had too high of expectations coming out of college. He didn't have quite enough time to refine his game. He's way too small, way too skinny. Didn't have the NBA body yet, which he still doesn't have. That's going to be a few years in the making. But he was just smooth. He just had everyone made the stupid comparisons to him and Kevin Durant coming out last year, which is still a horrible comparison.
They're not the same player. They're built the same way.
They're not the same player, but you could see at least a little bit of where those were coming from. He had some of that Kevin Durant, some of that Carmelo Anthony, that first step, explosive one-step pop release, where he's just able to get a fluid, on-balance, mid-range jumper off with one step, one dribble, half a second. And it's everything. It's just what you want to see out of a second or a third-year player in Summer League. You want to see them looking like they're a varsity player practicing with the JV squad. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily in terms of points, not in terms of highlights, but just in terms of looking like they know what they're doing when the other people on the floor don't.
On that one performance, he's been the best player in Summer League. Mm-hmm. I'll say it. Brandon Ingram was the best player out there of all the games I've seen. Charlie, I know you being, what did you think of Brandon Ingram?
Yeah, I was real happy when the Lakers drafted him last year, because you could see the potential in him, and when you start seeing the growth he's had, and then you throw in the Lonzo Ball conversation we just had. When you think about Lonzo Ball, Jordan Clarkson on his right, Brandon Ingram on his left, and Julius Randle running the four, those are some people that all of a sudden the Lakers are exciting again.
And you didn't even mention Zubac or Larry Nance Jr.
And Larry Nance Jr.
And Hart. Yeah, and Brooke Lopez and the kid they picked up in the second round, Hart from Villanova.
And even crazy Corey Brewer. Corey Brewer might not be the most talented player, but he gets out and runs, and he runs like a deer. And Lonzo Ball is going to hit him, and the team they've put together around Lonzo Ball is going to help him be successful. But Brandon Ingram can put that basketball in the hole, and you need people. We talked about that earlier about James Johnson and Deion Waiters. You need people that can go get a bucket, and Brandon Ingram has had that skill since he was 3 years old.
See, I like the Kevin Durant comparisons. I kind of see it, but I think Brandon Ingram's actually a little better playmaker, creating for his teammates. Durant's more of a better scorer. But I see the similarities. They're both, similar in stature and all that stuff. Allana, did you get a chance to see Brandon Ingram that first game?
Yeah, I saw a little bit of it. I mean, to me, the whole going into the next season with the Lakers, regardless of what they actually end up doing, wins or losses, whatever, they're going to be so much fun to watch. And I feel like that's enough at this point, because they will develop. They're all really young. So I think it's less about that and just kind of the trajectory of, success is coming and basketball can be fun again there.
And they're going to be competitive next year. I'll say this, one of my crazy predictions, I had the Timberwolves as a 6th seed in our prediction podcast last year. I'm going to say this. The Lakers won't make the playoffs this year, but if they were to get in at 8, I would not be shocked. And LeVar Ball will look like a genius. I kind of hope they get in just because to make LeVar Ball look like a genius. Because I think that is good for everybody involved. It's entertainment. Showtime is back in Los Angeles. But now I'm not going to, I'm going to go to you first, Brady. What are you've seen the Summer League so far? This Orlando, now Las Vegas, a little bit of Utah. What players have impressed you? What are a couple guys that have really impressed you so far? You don't have to name 10. You can just name a couple.
Well, for me, it starts with kind of picking up where we're talking off. I can't talk right now. Picking up where we left off with Ingram. I'm always looking more towards second and third year players in Summer League than rookies.
And that's good. That's fine. Go ahead.
Those are the players that you can really see make that improvement, make that learning curve. And And I think those players who are really making that jump are the ones who make it look easy, are the ones who make it look like they're just playing, checkers when everyone else is playing chess. And so Ingram has been the most impressive to me. Dante Exum,
yes,
very impressive. And that's great for Jazz fans because that kid has so much potential if he can put it together. And Jaylen Brown as well. I know he's kind of taken a back seat to Jason Tatum, but he's been more impressive in terms of fundamentals, in terms of decision making, in terms of the things that are actually going to play out immediately at the NBA level. He's been the most impressive player on that team. So those are the three guys that I've really been looking at. As far as rookies, Donovan Mitchell, has been so awesome.
He shoots the ball so easy. It's effortless.
It's completely effortless, and he could be a really big piece for them really soon. Really soon.
He's going to play this year, I think.
He is. I think he's going to play a lot. I think he really fits with what that team is trying to do. And now they're kind of in that middle stage where they're not rebuilding, but they're not quite contending the way they would have been.
But they still have Gobert.
They still have Gobert. They still have Ingles. They still have Hood. They got Rubio. That's still a team that I think is going to be very, very, very good. Not as good as before, obviously, but still, that's a team that's easily a playoff team in my mind that can make noise in the first round. But they're also Gobert's 25, Rubio's 26. They're still a team that is looking to the future more than this year, even though they're going to be good this year. So I think you're going to see Donovan Mitchell get a lot of playing time because they're going to be trying to see if he's a big piece for them going forward.
Allana, I already know I know one of the players you're gonna mention, but who's impressed you in Summer League? I already know. Say it. That's got to be your first one.
What are we talking about, Bam?
Yes, because I know that's one of yours.
Okay, I have to be totally honest. On draft night, I was a little bit taken aback just because that was not the direction I thought we were going to go in. But once I started to look into highlights of his and just kind of hear his story, I was excited. And then Summer League came, and I'm like, I'm sold. I know he had that one bad game. Everyone has bad games. Like we were saying, Summer League does not necessarily make or break. Right.
Lonzo was 2-15 in game one.
But to have a guy his size have the speed he does, which is not high speed, but for his size, and to actually be, as accurate of a shooter as he has been, I'm definitely impressed. I'm curious, though, to see, if he's going to come in behind Whiteside or if they're going to try to stagger them together or what's going to happen there. But actually, I wasn't even going to talk about him. I was actually going to talk about Okaro White. Because I, too, don't really focus on the rookies as much in Summer League just because I don't think it's very telling. But I think Okaro White has really just taken his game to a whole nother level. He's, crazy fast. I don't think I ever realized this, and I don't know if it's because, compared to, Goran, maybe it doesn't look like that. But he's, I'm, jokingly calling him the gazelle now because he's literally, trotting up and down the court like crazy. And I'm really excited to see what he's going to bring to the table. So I have to say I've only seen 2 or 3 games, so I'm not the best person to be talking about this.
That's all they really played out in Orlando. So
yeah, that too.
That's fair.
But yeah, no, I'm excited.
Nice. Charlie, what are a couple guys that have impressed you?
Well, I know he only played one. I think it was last night. We're talking about second-year players, but Patrick McCall, man, he was.
Oh yes.
He was lights out last night. He was playing with confidence. I mean, I know when you're in practice with KD, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson, I mean, you can't do anything but get better as a shooter. He looked confident.
Did you notice his release is sped up too?
It was quick. He was doing it off the dribble, contested, and he looked really good for a year 2 player trying to carve in some minutes on a tough Warriors team. But he was probably the best second-year player outside of Brandon Ingram that I've seen. And, of course, Jason Tatum. I know he's a rookie, and I know it's against bad players. When somebody's got the goods, he's got the goods. He's a walking double-double because he knows where to be on the court, so he's getting the rebounds. He knows how to use his frame. He's not the biggest guy, but he knows how to be in the right position at the right time, and he can score the basketball. So.
Speaking of, did you know that Larry Hughes is his godfather? Because I just found this out.
Wow.
And I love Larry Hughes, so I'm even more pumped now.
Now you got to be a Jason Tatum fan.
I know, apparently, as a quick aside there.
Jason, he just has a really good feel for the game, especially on the offensive end. I mean, when I was sold, when I'm seeing him shoot the one-footed Dirk fadeaway, give me Jason Tatum all day. That is not an easy shot to master, and he's got it mastered.
He's hitting it all net, and it's not like you can tell it's not luck because he's done it multiple times.
Yeah, exactly.
Games.
That's a really impressive shot. All young players need to learn that move.
And I know we're talking about summer league here. I'm gonna throw my basketball in. I know I'm not the biggest baseball, football fan, but between free agency, trade deadline, summer league, international, the NBA is the best. Best.
Yeah, no, they're killing it. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, it's not, unless you're a Yankees fan and they got Aaron Judge out there in New York. Right. Who, I'm a big Aaron Judge fan. Not a Yankees fan, but I love that Aaron Judge.
But I don't even think it's close anymore. I think the NBA has taken over as the best professional league, and it's not even close. Mm-hmm. And I love it because I'm a basketball guy, and it's like all year long.
But you know what, though? It's really the only sport you can watch year-round. Think about
all year long.
Yeah.
It's exciting all year. So it's great. To be a basketball fan right now, I think it's great. I know they talk about super teams and all that,
That's
but
good for the
there's
NBA.
Nothing better than what's going on right now.
The super teams are good for the NBA. I'm going to leave that for another debate, though. But I'm glad Charlie left this one for me. I'm going to touch on the rookies for the most part. That's what I love watching the rookies in summer league. I know it doesn't. You watch these guys. Oh, it doesn't dictate, but. Look at some of the rookies who've dominated Summer League and went on to be really good players. Damian Lillard destroyed Summer League. So I don't think it's a predictor of how they're going to do, but it gives you a feel for what they can and cannot do, and you can see things that are going to translate. Like with Lonzo, the unselfishness, the rubbing off on his teammates, the little pass, he gets the rebound, the outlet, he quickly passes up to the court, easy bucket. All that stuff is going to translate. But the rookies, thank you for leaving this one, Charlie. Dennis Smith Jr., how good has he been? I mean, I think he's probably going to be Rookie of the Year just because he's going to be in a scenario where he's going to get to really play and showcase. Like Jason Tatum, I don't think will get the minutes to be Rookie of the Year, even though he has the game. Philadelphia, I mean, Fultz and Simmons are going to split votes. Fultz won't win Rookie of the Year. Obviously you've got Josh Jackson in Phoenix. He's looked really good. Fox has looked good, but I think you've got a lot of guys in Sacramento it's going to take away from Fox a little bit. I think Dennis Smith is in a perfect opportunity.
You might be the only person talking about Rookie of the Year this early on. Like you might be the first.
No, I'm sure. If you go on Twitter, I'm sure it's all over the place. But right now, I'm not going to change it. When we do our preview, Dennis Smith Jr. will be my pick. And I would not be shocked if he ends up being the best player from this draft. It doesn't mean it'll happen, but he really is showing a lot. His explosiveness is fantastic. His vision, I'm really impressed with. I didn't know how good of a passer he was, but I'm really seeing that. He's a little bit better shooter than I thought, too. He does not shoot a bad ball. I know he'll be streaky. And a lot of people compared him to Steve Francis. I see more Baron Davis in him than Steve, but I get the Steve comparisons. Justin Jackson was really good for Sacramento the other day, moving out without the ball, shooting threes, showing that his shot can translate with the NBA range. I really like him. Second-year guys that I was disappointed with. Dragan Bender, not so much because he played bad. I don't like him sticking out at the three-point line, just jacking threes a lot. I think Bender can do more. Brady probably agrees with me on that. Bender can do more than just – and they're not using it right. Yeah. And Skal Labissière, where the hell was he? This is a guy I've been really high on since that Boogie trade. He did nothing.
I tuned into that game primarily because I wanted to watch Skal and see if he.
Yeah, but you know what? Who was guarding him, though? Like it was Bender. Dragan Bender was guarding him. He did an outstanding job defensively. But offensively, what is Bender doing? Do they want him camping out at the three-point line?
It's ridiculous.
He's a good shooter, but he can do so much more. He can put it on the floor. I just don't understand what they're doing.
Speaking of disappointments, I heard Cameron Payne was terrible. I did not watch that game.
Cameron Payne
you don't need to watch to know.
He can't play. He can't play.
He's not an NBA
But I'm glad you mentioned the Bulls because another guy I want to touch on for rookies, Lauri Markkanen, looked really good.
Yeah, I really like what Markkanen excited by him. I just hope that they don't re-sign Mirotic because you're literally having two of the exact same players. I
don't know. You know why I disagree on that? It's because I think Nico's a streaky shooter. Markkanen is a shooter. He's a pure shooter.
No, I'll agree with that, but I don't think you need to waste your money on Mirotic if that's who you drafted. And they're still talking about we're really high on him or whatever. So
I think Markkanen can put the ball on the floor and he can put it on the deck and get to the rim. Whereas I don't think Nico really does that a lot. He can, but he doesn't. Charlie, did you get a chance to see the Bulls at all? Did you see Markkanen yesterday?
I watched it a little bit, and Cameron Payne was so bad.
Oh, go ahead, speak on Cameron Payne.
I mean, they had three. You looked on the court; they had three guys playing that are second-year players: Denzel Valentine, Chris Dunn, or Cameron Payne's a little bit longer, but
yeah,
they're just terrible. It looked bad that I couldn't even watch that game anymore.
See, the worst part too is the Bulls are so bad at player development that there's just no hope for them. It's not like, oh, this is just summer league, let's wait it out. It's just like, this is it unless they get moved.
If you've got league, I don't know how many of you guys have league pass, but I watch a lot of Suns games, and I believe it's Tom Chambers is kind of the studio guy, and they were playing Minnesota, and they were talking about Chris Dunn, and Tom Chambers flat out said he can't play. He looks pretty good defensively, but offensively, I think Tom Chambers is right. He can't play. Cameron Payne
so incredibly lost.
Yeah, Cameron Payne is trash. He's not good defensively. There's a reason he's wide open every time down the floor, and he would not pass. I don't get it. Like, Markkanen scored about 16 points, but they never gave him the ball. I don't know why you're not giving it. He's your best player out there. Why is Cameron Payne shooting 13 threes?
Yeah, whatever it was he shot. He's another player that's going to have a chance to get a lot of minutes. I know you were talking about Rookie of the Year, and Dennis Smith predicts he's going to have
Markkanen could be in there.
But I still think me and you texted about him last night. People are forgetting how good Ben Simmons is.
Yes.
He's the real deal.
Yes.
I think he's the Rookie of the Year if he's healthy, because he's the real deal.
I don't know if he'll win Rookie of the Year just because of having Fultz on that team and how good
and all those other.
But I think I would put a lot of money on him being the best rookie this year.
Yeah, he's got triple-double potential.
Yeah. So I would have taken him first if he were in this draft without thinking twice about it.
Charlie and we were talking about this just the other night as well. And you can call the both of us stupid. We pretty much are on the same page. Give it 3-4 years, Ben Simmons is going to be one of the best 3, 4, 5 players in the NBA. I actually think he's going to be that good. Hot take.
And I think Embiid is already that good if he's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a scary team.
They could have 2 of the best 5 players in the NBA in 3 years. Yeah. And before we go here, now that we've brought up Embiid, because I see Kurt Lowe all the time talking about it. We talked about it, and we're probably all on the same page with Kurt Lowe on this one. Does Embiid remind you of Hakeem? I see it. He looks like Hakeem 2.0. He does. Go ahead, Brady. Go ahead.
He's like the modern Hakeem. He doesn't have obviously as crazy of post moves as Hakeem did, because no one does.
No.
But he's got that same ability to get space and get shots off using his shoulders without having to bully someone, but just he understands the spacing of drop steps and turning into his shoulders. His fundamentals are stunning, especially when you consider the fact that he's only been playing basketball for a few years. And then you throw in the fact that he can shoot a 3, he can handle the ball a little bit, he can pass. He's the modern Hakeem. He can do it all on defense. If he gets switched out, he's got fast feet. He can defend all right on the perimeter. He can defend the rim like nobody's business. He uses his length and his strength to go up instead of into people. And he's got it all. He's got touch. He's got footwork. He's got patience.
He can shoot threes.
And just watching him work on the block is just so much fun. You know, he's got that little mini dream shake. And just his footwork there, his drop steps. He's a great player. If he's healthy, I think he's a top 5 player as early as next year. I really do.
Nice. I'm not even going to laugh at you for that, because that guy's fantastic. And the stats, and everybody knows I'm not the biggest stats guy, but the advanced stats on Joel Embiid were very impressive. With him on the basketball court, they were a playoff team defensively and offensively when he's on the floor, and that's without Ben Simmons. That's without Markelle Fultz, without J.J. Redick. So that's something to, that's why I think Philadelphia. That's why I think Philadelphia is a top 3 team next year in the East if they're healthy. Charlie, what do you think Embiid? Does he remind you a lot of Hakeem?
Yeah, he reminds me of Hakeem. Hakeem to me was a little bit quicker, a little faster, but Embiid's also bigger. He's bigger, stronger, but they have the same type of footwork in there. They're both really skilled. Of course, Hakeem was a little quiet and a little outspoken, but you need that in today's NBA. And I think if he's healthy, if you want to call them surprises, my two surprise teams are the Sixers and the Heat. If you want to call them surprises, I think they're going to.
No, there's no surprise there for me.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why I say you want to say surprise, but I'm talking about surprise as top 3, top 4.
Yep.
In the Heat, because they're scary. They were when they were healthy. Both of those teams were really good. The Sixers got better, and the Heat got better, and they're healthy now. So I'm excited about this year, and I want somebody to come rival the Cavs finally.
Yes. Allana, can if the Sixers are healthy, can they be top 3 in the East?
I mean, I don't see why not. I'm excited about them, to be honest. When Fultz went down with that ankle, I was like, yeah, I know. But just seeing that, I was like, this is like the most unlucky organization in the entire league. But no, I mean, I'm excited. I feel like my only thing about them is I feel like right now they're so overhyped that I just hope that.
Oh, of course they are.
I just hope that they don't play too much into that. And I know Embiid got fined for saying whatever about LeVar Ball.
They got to stop that. Now we're going to get on that slippery slope, and it's not a good thing.
So I'm just hoping they actually focus on the basketball and not just kind of like, living up to.
But you know what? That's why you got guys like JJ Redick and Amir Johnson in there,
which I loved. I love that signing. I know we didn't. Talk about that
real quick before we go. That's what I should have talked about because JJ Redick is one of my favorite players. Brady. How good of a signing was that for Philadelphia? 1 year, $23 million.
It was perfect. I mean, you know me, I'm as big of a Redick fan as you'll ever find. But it's just perfect. If you can get a guy of that caliber with that skill set on a 1-year contract, normally I'm not a fan of teams that are young and rebuilding, adding veterans unless they're ready to contend. But if you can do it on a 1-year contract, it's not just about bringing in a veteran who can mentor the young players. It's about the fact that you have one of the deadliest shooters and one of the best off-ball movers in the league, and you're putting him next to these rookies who
he probably is the best off-ball, even better than Curry and Klay Thompson off.
I think he and Klay are 1A and 1B. But like when you take rookies like Fultz and Simmons and Embiid's pretty much a rookie still. Those are guys you want to put them in the best situation possible for them to succeed. You want to augment that development.
And plus he'll help he'll help Saric as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not so much about the fact that he's given these players leadership and mentorship and helping them develop their game. This is about the fact that defenses have to guard him 27 feet away every move he makes. And that just opens up the floor for Fultz and Simmons and Saric and Embiid to actually have some spacing and get to grow without having the defense focus on
it just adds another shooter to go along with Stauskas and Covington. I mean, this team is really loaded when you really look at it. They're going to have Jared Bayless back. They've got a really good roster. Charlie, what did you think of this JJ Redick signing?
Oh, it was big because, like you said, Ben Simmons, what he can do is he's kind of got that LeBron type feel to his game where he puts the ball in the money when he's playing, so he can get to the paint. Markelle Fultz can get to the paint. Embiid is tough to cover in the post. You need somebody out there that can knock down threes, and JJ Redick can shoot the ball, and he competes on defense. I know people don't talk about his defense very much.
He's a very good team defensive player.
JJ Redick competes on defense, and he plays well. He's been in a winning organization, so he's going to help out the young Sixers. I think he was a big pickup. I think Amir Johnson was a big pickup.
Yes.
I think they're talented. People don't talk about Yaric. I'm not.
Dario Saric.
But he's a good player too. So the Sixers have the pieces to be really good, and they're going to be another exciting young team to watch this year. I'm ready for the season to start. I wish it was starting now.
I know. I wish it was October so bad.
Hey, it's going to be here before Allana. Did you like the JJ Redick signing?
Oh yeah, no, I absolutely loved it, and I think that a lot of teams do try to pick up vets just for kind of mentorship roles. But I think this goes way beyond that, like everyone's been saying already, which I think is really exciting because not only will he provide that and just kind of some stability, but then he can also still, ball out all day. So I'm really excited.
I totally agree with everybody. Beautiful signing by the Sixers. It's just what they need. He's going to fit flawlessly into Brett Brown's system. They do shoot a lot of threes. They get up and down. Perfect system for JJ Redick. He's got guards who can deliver him the ball at the right time. But before I go out, I do want to say I really like that Brett Brown got to stick around for all of this, because I do think he's a fantastic NBA coach. He dealt with the bad roster, all the injuries. That's not his fault. They were always competitive. If you watch some Sixer games, they're in a lot of games. They just didn't have the horses to close. So I'm really happy for Brett Brown, because I think he's going to be a guy you look at in a few years. He's going to be amongst the elite coaches in the NBA. You know, he's a Greg Popovich disciple. And Charlie, Greg Popovich disciples are just they're all, Mike Brown, another great coach. Buddingholzer in Atlanta. These guys they're all, you come from Greg Popovich, you're going to be a good coach.
Right. They come out and win. Everybody that's been a part of the Spurs organization for the most part has won at some level. I mean, Steve Kerr was a part of the Spurs organization.
Yes, that's another one. Yeah.
He's Popovich is the man. He gets it done.
Yes, he really is. I mean, and Mike Brown got a lot of hate. But let's be honest. This year when he had to take over that Warrior team, how good were his rotations in the playoffs? He was really running a lot of screen and rolls with KD and Steph and putting Curry the ball in his hands more. Like, how good – he was great this year for them.
Oh, he was great. I think he got a lot of it started with the LeBron James. A lot of times LeBron James's coaches don't get the credit they deserve. They get talked down.
That was a bad roster they had when LeBron was first in. That wasn't a great roster. Zydrunas Ilgauskas was their second best player.
Right. But you think about people like Spoelstra. He got he was given such a hard time when LeBron was there, when it was LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, LeBron bumping into him. Spoelstra doesn't know what he's doing. I think
even when they won, they just said it was the big three winning, and it had nothing to do with Spo.
Like, he didn't have anything to do with it. But I think that was the part of having LeBron James on your team. You don't get credit when you deserve it sometimes. And sometimes, like Tyronn Lue, you get too much credit, because I don't think Tyronn Lue is good.
Here's the thing, though, with Spo. Remember the year before LeBron came? Remember? They had a horrible roster, and Spo got him to the playoffs.
Yep.
Right.
So
no, Spo's good. He's top 5, maybe top 3 in my book. And I hope that they have a chance to stay healthy this year and get some wins.
They'll be good. They're a playoff team if they stay healthy, and Dion Waiters is going to lead the team in scoring.
I don't know if he's going to beat out Goran, but
Dion Waiters is going to lead the team in scoring. I'm calling it right now.
I'll put some money on that.
Yes. See, that's what we do here. But I think that's gonna wrap us up tonight. I'm not sure, probably Friday or Sunday. I will be if we come back Friday, I will be in the hotel room. Hopefully, if the connection is good, we'll go on Friday, and we'll talk. We'll just talk a lot of summer league. Hopefully, some maybe Kentavious Caldwell-Pope will have signed somewhere. We'll get to talk about that. But hopefully Friday or Sunday. If it's Sunday, it'll be later in the evening when I come back from Chicago from an AAU tournament. But until then, we will see y'all next time.